Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
So excited for our next guest. It's Kristin Mason. She's joining us live today from Morgan, Vermont. She's the owner and farm-based counselor. Yes, she has the service at Reining Hope Counseling Services. That's the name of it. And she's amazing at what she does. And I'm excited to talk to her because she really believes, healing power of horses can help so many of us. So we're excited to talk to you today and get to know that connection between horse and human being. And of course, get to know you. So first and foremost, welcome to the show. How are you today?
Thank you, Jill. I'm doing very well. This is, transparency, first time doing this. So, little nervous, but that's okay because I believe in what I do, like you said.
No need. I got you. I'm excited to talk to you. Before we got on air, she's like, yeah, I just got in from the farm. And I'm like, oh, how beautiful. I could only imagine, right? And clearly your love of horses, your passion, and bringing people together like this is great. So let me just ask, you're working with people here via telehealth, like what we're doing today in a sense on Zoom, children, adolescents, adults, families. And is it all in Vermont? It's nationwide.
Well, I'm only licensed in Vermont, so I
Okay.
do the teletherapy piece, but I also do on my farm, of course.
And tell me about your farm.
So, well, funny story, backstory, right?
Sure.
So when I first originally I was actually in Connecticut. I'm from Vermont, but I moved to Connecticut for a guy, of course. That's how it
Got it.
goes, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Didn't work out, but whatever. That's the life path. But my parents had bought the property and they renovated the old barn. And they put some stalls in because my dad loved big workhorses, Belgians. So way back when, they did all that. So when I was thinking about coming home, which I knew I always would, I basically said, you know what, I can use the property and make something of it, right? So I built the property and went to the barn, went to the bank, and luckily they were able to, finance me, etc. So it just kind of was a dream that kind of came to fruition through some not so traditional passageways, basically.
Beautiful. So when he's mentioned farm, now this is growing up. So when did you first, start your love of horses? And when did you realize you had this connection with animals?
So, well, the connection with animals I was very young. Like my first dog was a beagle, which I named Snoopy at age 6. What else you gonna name your beagle, right?
Of course.
And yeah, right. And it was my grandmother, though, that really kind of identified that I had this connection because I was like talking without talking to animals, and some people don't believe in animal communication, and that's okay. But I literally one day when I'm guessing between 6 and 8, asked my grandmother, like, can I talk to animals? Because I was like really thinking, okay, I must be crazy, right? And she did. She said, like, no, you have always been able to talk to animals. And I really didn't believe her at first. So I said, like, no, like not talking to animals. So, but I would spend hours outside, just hours outside, and just not even enjoying being inside. And so I think my grandmother was the one that really kind of clicked it. And
Aw.
the horse piece was always there, but my parents, God bless them, said, "Oh, the next time we move, you can get a horse. Oh, the next time we move, you can get a horse." And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
sure.
Yeah.
Right. So when we moved to Morgan in 1977, we had land. And I'm like, can I get a horse now? Well, they kind of redirected me and they're like, well, you're into sports and you're into this and you're into that, whatever. So I never got the horse, but in hindsight, right, thinking back,
Mm-hmm.
it all worked out because I wouldn't have had those experiences because I would have spent all my time at the barn, right?
Yeah.
So when I was 21 and I was in college, I started taking actual lessons. I used to jump on all my friends' horses and just go, not knowing a thing of what I was doing. I took formal lessons, and then I wasn't until age 28 that I actually got my own horse.
Oh,
And when I had a job, I could pay for it, etc. And so I boarded it. And then when my parents bought this land, maybe it was karma, I'm thinking maybe it
yeah.
was karma when they bought this land that I was like, because it's right across from the house that we bought and we
Oh
built.
my God.
Oh
Wow.
yeah. Oh
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, it
It's right
definitely is.
across. Yeah. Karma, right? And so when I was coming back from Connecticut, I was like, this land could really use something, whatever. And so my parents bought into it, and they agreed for me to use their land, and I built Reining Hope, which is now Sunset Hills Farm, but Reining Hope Counseling Services.
Oh my goodness. Now I also got to find out more because you mentioned this is in 1995. You've since then you've been working with horses and you mentioned they're human since 95. But here you are, you're certified, you're a equine specialist, mental health learning. Tell me all your accolades. You're a Reiki practitioner. So here you are but holding down many different hats. Could you share a little bit about, the certifications and specialties that you have?
Sure. So, going back to Connecticut, I was going to be a veterinarian. So I literally spent
Yeah.
30 years as a vet tech, but that was only part-time. So I got all that experience on the side, right? So I landed in Connecticut and I found High Hopes Therapeutic Riding. And by
Yeah.
chance, I really need to tell people, like, when things happen, just go with it, quite honestly, because if it will lead you where you need to be, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I found High Hopes, and they were doing instructor certification, which in 95, I was at a farm where I was boarding my horses, and I was actually doing therapeutic riding, not even knowing there was a
Uh-huh.
certification
Wow.
for it until I got to Connecticut. So then in Connecticut, I found High Hopes, like I said, and um, they were wonderful. So I started volunteering there, and then actually joined in the program, and I got trained as an advanced therapeutic riding instructor and eventually an equine specialist in mental health and learning through it was North American Riding for the Handicapped at the time, and it switched to
Wow.
now Path International, which is all over the place.
Oh my
So
goodness.
yeah, and I've stayed certified through all these years, which
God
is
bless.
awesome. I haven't been able to, like, go to a lot of the conferences like I used to be able to, but yeah, I've kept the connection, and I do have a lot of friends throughout the United States that are doing it, which is wonderful. So
Oh,
that's where that piece came in.
and by the way, we got to tell everyone it's Reining Hope Counseling Services.com. That's spelled Reining, Hope Counseling Services. And I would love to hear, your areas of specialization and how you're working with the youth, children, families, and horses. And tell us about the benefits and, the types of people that you're able to help.
So through the therapeutic riding, I mean, I have the background, and I worked with a lot of children with autism, a lot of children with physical disabilities, or I say extraordinary abilities, because really,
Yeah.
we all have our unique abilities.
Mm-hmm.
I don't prescribe to the disability piece, but
Mm-hmm.
there's challenges, I guess I should say. Like, I don't like to use the word problem. I like to use the word issues, but so anyways, so through the therapeutic riding, I learned a lot about the connection, obviously, with not only the volunteers and the horses and the students, but also definitely the students. And you don't have to ride to be able to have that feeling, right? So the thing with horses and animals in general, but specifically horses, because they're so sensitive, they're prey animals. So in order to survive, they have to, like, feel what's going on around them, right? Like proprioception, know where they are in space, what's going on around them. Learning body language of their called peers, right? So they're herd members, right? So when even though we say, "Oh, we're fine" on the outside, the horses
They
know
can sense
differently.
it, right?
Yes,
They're
exactly.
empathic.
Yes, basically,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't want to, like, put, human terms onto horses, but honestly, they really are. It's their sense of survival, right? And so, like working with people with a lot of trauma, and trauma can be anything, right? It could be, as simple as you're 2 years old and you follow your high chair, but for whatever reason, you were eating peas and you don't like peas, right? Well, it's probably because you fell out of the high chair when you were 2 years old, but you don't realize that you were eating
Ah,
peas at the time.
interesting. You're right.
hmm So, and then there's more. There's, the bigger traumas like, witnessing war or
Mm.
domestic violence and all that
That's
stuff.
right.
And
PTSD, you mentioned this could
yes,
help with.
yes, exactly. Absolutely. So with the horses, you are able to work with them to help your own
Wow.
self-regulate, right? And to a lot of times, especially with young kids, they don't like to like talk to people, right?
Mm-hmm.
But they will talk to animals. So,
Really? I have
yes.
a 7 and 9-year-old, and we've done a few horse riding at parties and pony riding, but never like I took them horse riding to bond with a horse. So I'm not familiar. I want to. And there's actually a farm about 10 miles away that my girlfriend's son goes and horseback riding. I said, I want to bring my kids there. You never know what the connection is. I want to, and I'm not, familiar with, being around horses much. My friend had them upstate, and I just love. I have lots of cats. But like same concept with animals, you just love them and you just feel something for them. So I'm really curious about these animals, these beautiful horses, and how it works, how the bonding works. You mentioned like the children you're with, they're talking to the animals. Are they riding them? Are they petting them? Are you sitting with them? I'm trying to picture, what like a session is like.
And it's different for everybody, right?
Okay.
Because I do have some people that come there fearful of horses, but they might be fearful of other things too. So building their self-confidence and their self-esteem. So it may be as simple as grooming and just being, in the barn or even out in the paddock or in the arena. We always make sure the environment is safe, obviously, for the human and the
Mm-hmm.
horse, but being able to have them see them build that confidence, just like brushing. I've had kids that want to be 3 feet away and try to brush. And it's like, well, you
Oh,
need to get a little closer, right? And I explain even the prey situation, because even being 3 feet away, the horse is like, I'm not so sure about you right now, right?
yeah.
So, and approaching from the side and relating, the big thing is though, relating it to actually human interaction, right? So big example I'd like to use is like you wouldn't walk right up to a horse face to face
Mm,
because it would scare the bejeebies out of them, right? And
okay.
it's invading their space. Plus, they can't really see you
Okay.
because their eyes are on the side, so they can
Peripheral.
see, yeah, like 180-ish,
Mm-hmm.
on either side, and they can see independently. But when you come right up to them, there is a blind spot. So if you approach them from the side, it's more being their partner, just like people. Like you don't want somebody walking like slamming up to your face, right? I mean, be like, whoa, baby.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
space.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Until you know them and you want them to be in your personal space. So it's very similar. That's, just a simple example. And just building the trust. And then you work to, especially if somebody's not familiar with working with horses, then I have a huge arena. Like I am very fortunate that my barn attaches to my arena. And I made it that way because winters in Vermont
I was going to
are
ask, is
very
it warm?
cold.
Is it heated in there? I'm just curious how it works.
Oh
I don't.
no.
Okay.
Oh no. It's not
How?
heated. It's not
But
heated. Well, one, for the health of the animal, because I believe that, going from heat to cold is not very good, right? Even for
mm-hmm.
us, we need that transition. So if I keep it, but the barn stays with the horses in there about 40 degrees, and the arena, I have not, even with 20 below zero, the arena has not gotten below 20 above zero, but
Got it.
there's no wind. So it's, warm. So anyway, plus they got fur, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then we move, to the arena and we do some free lunging. And that's where people have probably heard the term joining up, where you free lunge, you let the horse run. If they want to roll, they can roll, whatever. And it's safe again. I'm out there with, if it's a child or an adult, it doesn't matter. And you actually ask the horse to walk, trot, canter, whatever they can do. And you watch their body language. You watch where their ears are. You watch where their tails are doing. You're watching how close they're getting to you. And there is a point in time where you can stop and you can turn around and you wait. And if the horse is ready to come to you and be with you, they will come. If they're not, then you politely ask them to move along and keep going. And then when that connection
And that
happens, because
trust. Yeah.
yes, exactly, because you're building trust, even though you're in the middle of the arena and they're on the outside of the arena, or a brown pen for that matter, then you start building that trust. But they're coming to you. So you now are what they assume is, or what they might expect is their safe space, because you haven't harmed them. You're allowing them to come to you, right? And again, with people, if you force yourself on other people, do you really want to get to know that person? Probably not.
No. Interesting. This is fascinating. I've never met anyone like you. This is like so unique, and this is a great concept. And wow. Can you tell me some stories without using people's names, but of how
Yeah.
you've helped children or adults go through whatever it is they're going through? Thank you.
Um, well, one wonderful story, and this is actually therapeutic writing, but there's one wonderful story of a woman that was actually my age, and she had gotten into a serious car accident and was partially paralyzed. Like, they didn't think she was going to walk again or anything. And she had started riding with a different instructor, and that instructor had moved on to other things. So I took over her lessons. And when she first started, her she was doing other therapies like rolfing, etc., and she could hardly just keep herself upright. We had a wonderful horse and two volunteers, well, three volunteers, one leader, two sidewalkers, and me. So actually four of us, just making sure of her safety. And she, um, through observation and watching her interact with the horse and training the volunteers ahead of time what we needed to do, the realization was that when she got her head too far forward, she did not have that balance yet to be able to pull herself upright. So she was, falling forward on the horse. So we developed her, she had very strong like leg muscles and everything. So she would literally, with the movement of the horse, able to eventually build up her core muscles. And it was phenomenal. And she had left right-sided weakness. So holding the reins was an issue with the right hand. So watching again, like what was working, what wasn't working, having her focus on something in front of her and allowing her just to have that movement, because the movement of the horse actually affects every single part of your body, your circulatory system, your respiratory system, your nervous system, everything. So she could use her reins, to steer on the left side, but the right side, not so much. But I was like, one day I just had the volunteer on that side tap her elbow on her right side, and she opened her rein. Yeah. So her nervous system had whatever regenerated itself. I'm not a neurologist, obviously, but what I saw was, for whatever reason, her brain could go to her elbow and was able to do that. So we eventually had her just start thinking like, okay, my elbow. And then we eventually started her thinking about her hand, and she was able to steer the horse in both directions. It took time, but
Wow.
just that movement. Yeah. So it was pretty phenomenal. That was probably a really big one. And then just I've had a couple of very cautious teenage girls that weren't sure of themselves, and just being around the horses and allowing them to even make some mistakes, again with safety, but being able to kind of watch them and mentor them in what they were doing with the horses, has really, they have blossomed. Like, They hardly spoke to me when they first started. And
Oh,
now they're like chit-chatting away, etc. So, yeah. So, but I'm sure other people, in this field have had like all these really interesting stories. And sometimes, honestly, Jill, it's hard to explain. Sometimes it's really hard to explain what happens.
I can't believe this. This is fascinating work that you're doing. And by the way, let me just ask that Reining Hope Counseling Services, just got to remind everyone who we reach out to in the state of Vermont. Is this something that's covered by insurance? Is it out of pocket? Is it, could you share?
So the counseling services piece, which again is I work with some of the horses and we also do nature based. So I do have trails and stuff on the property, and weather dependent, but I do have the barn. That is in covered by insurance. It's basically, I'm doing therapy, but we happen to have a horse helping us, or we happen to have my dog's going for a walk helping us, or we're going for a walk. So it is basically psychotherapy that's billed. I don't have a specific equine assisted. So it's billed as normal therapy. It's just one of the toolboxes that I utilize with people that need that kind of interaction. I also do in my office too. So some people don't even want to do anything with the animals. Um, the out of pocket is with the lessons. So
Uh-huh.
if I'm
Okay.
doing camps or, group lessons or lessons in general, though that's out of pocket, obviously, because I
Wow.
can't charge for insurance. But yeah.
Got it. Wow. Thank you for sharing this. And let me also ask, Raining Hope Counseling Services, you're also working with adults too. I know we
Mhm.
mentioned a lot about children, which is great.
Right.
What about animal to animal? Just curious. Do you have other pets there on the farm? Do you notice that the horses can help heal other animals too?
Well, they're out in pairs. So when I have new horses come, I really have to
Okay.
think about who gets along with who, right? So, because some don't get along with each other, but my dogs are very familiar with horses. They're very good with them. And some people do bring their dogs here. I just ask, that they tell me in advance and that they have to respect, the horses and that they are, prey animals and they can get frightened if they're not aware. It's kind of like training people too. You've got to
Yeah.
say, okay, well, this is the, inside voices, inside feet, right, for everybody. So yeah,
And can I ask, I know I read in your notes that you're also an animal communicator. I mean, clearly. But like, do you know when like what your animal needs from you? Can you feel it? And from other people's animals too? Like you're a medium as well?
I wouldn't call myself a medium. And quite honestly, it's really unique the
Wow.
way that it happens because when it's needed, it happens like automatically. And I think it's also an intuitive feeling with the animals. It takes everything. It takes observation. It takes um your gut feeling, your intuition. And I think that kind of comes into play a little bit too with counseling because sometimes, especially kids and sometimes adults too, are holding back, right? Because they're trying to build that trust. So I have had out of the blue people call me about finding lost animals, etc. And I just allow it to come. So I wouldn't call myself like a guru medium like some people out there, and I do believe in it. And I have my own person that I talk to when I need to kind of be like, okay, I'm really thinking about doing this. So am I on the right track, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's really I don't even know I don't even know if animal communication is the right term because it's just a gut feeling. It's like intuition, right? And we're all
Yeah.
born with it. We are literally all born with intuition. We just forget about it at times.
Hmm.
Sometimes it comes back later in life and sometimes it
It
doesn't.
doesn't.
So
And can I ask how many horses do you have here on the farm?
Um, there are 10 here right now. I have two
Oh,
boarders and 8 of
wow.
my own. Yep, 8 of my own, 2 of which are minis. They're adorable. And
And is
maybe
it
I can, I didn't get on my phone. I'm like actually on my
We could
computer,
do that
but
for another show.
yeah,
Yes,
I
you could
can
be
get on my
live
phone
in the
and
arena.
give you a
Yes.
tour.
Oh, that'd be wonderful. Oh, do we have more
Yeah,
shows coming up? That would be great.
especially if it's nice out. I mean, it gets dark Well, right now it's not too bad, but maybe as we get a little bit into December, we can do
Yes.
that because it'll be lighter a little bit later.
Oh
So
my
yeah,
goodness. That sounds great. I've seen the beautiful pictures, on your website, but I would love to see it in person. My goodness. And let me ask, you also have any children as well?
I do not have any kids. My kids
Okay.
are all four-legged and fuzzy.
That's okay. That's okay. I was reading,
Yeah.
I saw something before. I perused on your website about someone was thanking you for their granddaughter. Oh, I guess it wasn't your granddaughter. Someone,
Right.
hold on, let me see if I can find it. It was one of the testimonials on the site. I'm so sorry. Hold on.
Okay.
Here it is. Okay. I have nothing but praise for Reining, Hope, and Kristin. I have observed her working with children suffering from trauma. She is insightful, compassionate, focused, and has the ability to determine what the child needs without explanation. Reining, Hope, and Kristin made a huge difference in my granddaughter's life. My granddaughter needed the opportunity to work with horses and needed to make a connection with someone who had an understanding of what she experienced at a young age. And that's from ELP. So, it's stories like that, obviously, that keep you in business. You love what you do. You love helping people, and it's been great, getting to know you here on the first show. How did you want to kind of leave off for our listeners and our viewers today?
So we're going to meet again next week, right?
Okay, yeah.
And depending on the weather, I can give a tour or whatever. But if folks want to hear a little bit more about, why horses and, why animals, I can certainly talk about that. Also, there is a lot of information on the internet, a lot of evidence-based
Mm-hmm.
information that people should look into. There's also, if anybody wants to get into this field, if they send questions to you, I'm okay answering them. Yeah. So we
Oh,
can go wherever.
oh my goodness. Well, this is great. And can I just ask, I don't know your exact location in Vermont. I was there for the first time only this summer with my kids. We went to Jay Peak Resort and then we went to the Ben and Jerry's factory in Burlington. Are you anywhere near those?
Yes. Yes. I see J Peak if I go to my mother's house and
Oh,
look,
wow.
we see J Peak. Yeah, we're like 40 minutes because, there's no easy route around Vermont. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, Morgan is like halfway between Derby, Newport area and Island Pond. So
Perfect. Just curious.
yeah,
All right. Thank you so
yeah,
much. Well, pleasure getting
yeah.
to know you here, Kristin, and looking forward to getting to know you further. And again, commend you on your work with all these beautiful animals. And thank you for being here. So, ReiningHopeCounselingServices.com. That's spelled REINING, HopeCounselingServices.com. And do you have any social media pages you wanted to share?
I do not. I'm not on Facebook because my Facebook got hacked like 3 years ago. So I
It
didn't
happens
even
all the
bother
time.
going back on there. I
No
know.
problem. But they can go to the website and you offer a free 15-minute consultation, right?
Yes, yes. And I do have a waiting list. It's like ridiculous around. I mean, I think every counselor probably does, especially
Yes.
in here. But so I just tell people if you want to call, you can call the barn and leave a message, 802-895-9166. That's fine.
Okay. Thank you
Yeah.
so much. You have a fantastic day. Looking forward to the next time we connect, okay?
Yes. Thank you, Jill.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
Mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes. and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.